このドラゴンを倒せばあと一息だ。行くぞ。を書いている。
The story begins in the middle of a chaotic fight in a dungeon, where Laios, a brave knight, leads his friends in a desperate battle against a scary red dragon. Even though they are skilled fighters, the group feels weak from hunger because they used up all their food dealing with unexpected problems on their journey. At a crucial moment, when it seems like they might lose, Laios' sister, Phelan, does something very brave. She pushes Laios out of harm's way and becomes the dragon's unexpected victim. But her sacrifice isn't wasted because she uses a powerful spell to help the group escape from certain death. When Laios wakes up in a peaceful field, he meets Marcel, a magician who is thankful for escaping via the teleportation spell. Laios is thankful they survived, but he feels very guilty and sad about Phelan. Marcel, who is practical and clever, tells him the hard truth: Phelan might still be alive inside the dragon. Laios is determined to save his sister, even though it seems impossible. They don't have much food left, and their friends have gone, so they face a tough journey with little hope. But Laios is determined because he loves his sister and feels it's his duty to rescue her. Even though Marcel advises him to be practical, Laios decides to head to a nearby town where they can find food and rest. But he can't stop thinking about Phelan, and her absence weighs heavily on him as they travel through dangerous territory. As they move forward into the unknown, Laios can't forget the battles they've faced and the sacrifices made, which drive him to keep going, even when things seem bleak. He's determined to find his sister, even if it means facing more danger and uncertainty. Determined to save Phelan, Laios decides to go on the dangerous journey alone. But Marcel strongly disagrees with his plan. She insists on joining him because she's also committed to rescuing Phelan. Chuck, who is practical, agrees to help too, knowing his skills will be useful. Even though Laios is unsure about their sincerity at first, he feels encouraged by their support as they stand at the entrance of the dungeon, ready to face whatever comes their way. As they explore deeper into the dungeon, Laios suggests they eat the monsters they find to sustain themselves. Marcel and Chuck are surprised by the idea, but Laios believes the dungeon's creatures must provide food for themselves. Undeterred by their doubts, Laios leads them further into the maze-like passages, remembering past encounters with the dungeon's creatures. Their journey is interrupted when they come across a group of adventurers running from aggressive mushrooms. Marcel easily defeats the mushrooms, confirming Laios' belief in the dungeon's edible potential. But when Laios suggests eating the mushrooms, Marcel is horrified, worried they might not be safe to eat. Laios checks a guide to dungeon food, reassuring his friends that the mushrooms are okay to eat. Continuing on, they discover bustling market areas and learn about the strange origins of the dungeon's creatures. Laios shows off his hunting skills by catching a scorpion for their meal. Chuck's excitement for the culinary adventure becomes clear, as he's always been fascinated by monsters and what they taste like. As they prepare their meal, they meet a dwarf named Senshi, who knows a lot about cooking monster dishes. Senshi helps them cook the ingredients properly, warning them about the dangers of mishandling the monsters. But their cooking adventure takes a dangerous turn when Marcel is trapped by a harmful slime. Senshi saves her quickly, showing them how important it is to understand the creatures they want to eat. Excited to make their meal even more interesting, Senshi decides to add the captured slime to the pot, happy to share the feast with someone who loves monster food as much as he does. As the delicious smell of their unusual meal fills the air, the group gathers to eat, praising Senshi for his cooking skills. In the midst of their enjoyment, Laios reminds everyone of their main goal: to save Phelan from the red dragon before she gets digested. Feeling encouraged by their tasty meal and their new friend Senshi, a dwarf who loves cooking exotic dishes, the group continues deeper into the dungeon. Senshi is already thinking about cooking dragon dishes. Entering the forest area on the dungeon's second level, they find a lush landscape with tall trees and bridges. Laios suggests they stop and camp for the night, but Marcel worries about the safety of their food. Still, she agrees to eat, feeling hungry despite her concerns. As Laios checks his guidebook, Marcel is unsure about trying new foods, causing a bit of disagreement among the group. Senshi reassures her that there are plenty of fruits to eat, but Marcel gets more worried when they encounter plants that eat people. Laios tries to calm her down by explaining that the plants aren't dangerous, despite their scary name. But Marcel imagines scary things, like being used as plant food. Chuck, being practical, thinks Marcel's fears are silly, believing the dungeon is safe. Their peaceful break is interrupted when Marcel gets caught by a plant. Senshi advises Marcel to be careful with her magic to avoid hurting the important fruits they rely on. But their peace is disturbed when a body comes out of one of the meat-eating plants, making Marcel frustrated. Laios explains that the plant is parasitic and got her stuck. Marcel gets upset with Laios, but he quickly helps her by freeing her from the plant's grip. However, his attempt to make a joke makes Marcel uncomfortable. So, they move to the shelter of a tree, where Senshi starts making a broth. As the smell of cooking fruits fills the air, Laios thinks about planting the seeds of the man-eating plants. But Marcel strongly disagrees. Senshi adds different fruits to the broth, making it tasty. Even though Marcel is hesitant, she tries it, curious about the relationship between the plants and their prey. Laios explains how the plants trick their victims, impressing Marcel with their cleverness. Feeling more interested, they clean up the area, thinking about the body found by the plants. They decide to leave the body for other adventurers to find, not thinking much about it. As Marcel falls asleep, she has a nice dream of cooking with her mom. But it turns into a nightmare when the food becomes scary monsters, waking her up. She smells breakfast nearby, where another group is cooking normal food. Even though the smell of the food from the other camp is tempting, Marcel wishes she could have pork instead. Senshi understands and wishes adventurers ate more balanced meals. He decides to find monsters with fat or eggs for food. When Laios talks about a basilisk, everyone gets excited about the idea of trying new foods. Chuck jokes with Marcel about chicken, but she still doesn't want to eat monsters. When they find a basilisk nest, they can't resist trying to take its eggs. But things get dangerous when the basilisk comes back, scaring away other adventurers. Marcel gets chased by the basilisk, and Laios tries to help, but his attempts are more funny than scary. The group feels impressed by Laios' bravery, even though it's unconventional. Using smart tactics, Senshi and Laios defeat the basilisk by attacking it from different sides. They find out one of the other group members got poisoned. Senshi shocks everyone by not giving the antidote right away but planning to use it in a meal. Even though they're surprised, they agree to his plan and ask him to start cooking. The group hurries to gather ingredients and make the poisoned man's last meal. Senshi makes a tasty chicken dish with healing properties. Even though the poisoned man is getting worse, he enjoys the meal's flavor while he's suffering. During the meal, Marcel gets distracted by the tasty chicken leg but remembers she needs to help the sick man. She uses a healing spell to make him feel better. After that, they enjoy the meal together and feel closer as a group. After eating, the poisoned man asks for advice on dealing with tough enemies. Senshi tells them about the importance of eating well, exercising, and resting. Inspired by his advice, they say goodbye to the man and continue their journey with new energy. But Marcel is tired, so the group decides to rest and find food. Senshi suggests hunting for mandrake, which can help Marcel get better and give them food. When Marcel hears about mandrake, she wants to show off her magic skills, saying she's harvested it before. She insists on leading the group, warning them about the plant's screams that can drive people crazy when pulled from the ground. She mentions a method from her book that involves sacrificing a dog, which horrifies Laios and Chuck. Laios suggests a less cruel way using a long rope, but Marcel can't find any alternatives in her book. Despite their objections, Senshi decides to try his method of cutting off the mandrake's head quickly. Even though Senshi's method works, Marcel still feels guilty about hurting animals. She comes up with a plan to use a captured bat monster instead of a dog. But things go wrong, and Marcel gets affected by the mandrake's scream. The group helps Marcel, comforting her as she recovers. She admits she was scared of being a burden, so she did something reckless to prove herself. Senshi and the others reassure her and remind her to save her magic for the challenges ahead in the dungeon. Also, Laios tries to reassure Marcel to trust their friends, but it causes tension when Chuck's commitment is questioned. Senshi helps by getting excited about a new monster they found, and they take a break to eat. During the break, Marcel talks about the basilisk egg, and Laios explains its weird mix of snake and chicken. Senshi notices a problem with the mandrakes Marcel collected, realizing the mandrake's scream affects its taste. Senshi thanks Marcel for teaching him about cooking, but accidentally ruins her dish while trying to reward her. As they explore more, Chuck finds hidden passages and avoids traps, but Senshi accidentally triggers one out of curiosity. Chuck gets mad at Senshi for being careless, but Senshi finds the traps interesting despite the danger. Even though Marcel doesn't like Senshi's behavior, Laios reminds her how important Senshi is for their survival. He knows they all have a big responsibility. Chuck finds a trap, and Senshi gets excited, wanting Chuck to trigger it. Even though Chuck worries about the danger, Senshi is sure his plan will work. When the trap goes off, boiling oil pours into a pot, surprising Laios. Chuck notices that the hot oil doesn't hurt Senshi, which surprises him. Senshi realizes the oil is perfect for cooking and suggests using other traps in the dungeon to help cook meals. Chuck isn't sure at first. As they cook together, Chuck struggles a bit but eventually makes a great dish. They all enjoy the food and thank each other for their help. Senshi offers to teach Chunk about cooking, and in return, Chunk offers to teach Sanchi about traps. But that's where this video ends, and if you haven't watched his life change after getting fired from Hero Party, click on the video on the right. See you on the next one.